This video is a detailed documentary of the Japan Airline Flight 123 crash in 1985. Kindly subscribe to this channel for more aviation-related videos. On the evening of August 12, 1985, the skies above Japan were filled with the laughter and chatter of passengers aboard Japan Airlines Flight 123. A flight that was supposed to be routine, a journey for passengers to return home or to visit family or even to enjoy a vacation, quickly became one of the deadliest air disasters in history. What started as a regular domestic flight ended in tragedy, forever altering the world of aviation. Flight 123 was carrying 524 passengers on board, 15 crew members, and 509 passengers. For Captain Yoshikazu Iwanaga, First Officer Kenji Okuda, and Flight Engineer Masahiro Saito, it was a routine flight. The Boeing 747 was a tried and tested aircraft, one of the most iconic planes of its time. Japan Airlines Flight 123 was a short domestic flight from Tokyo Narita International Airport to Osaka. The flight departed at 6:12 p.m., climbing steadily into the sky. It was a typical evening in Japan, clear skies, calm weather, and no indication of the disaster that was about to unfold. But just 12 minutes into the flight, things began to go terribly wrong. As the plane passed through 24,000 feet, a violent and unexpected explosion rocked the aircraft. At 6:20 p.m., an alarming bang reverberated throughout the fuselage. Something catastrophic had just happened. The aircraft tail section had suffered a catastrophic failure, something that no one aboard the flight could have anticipated. The loss of the tail was not just a physical rupture. It was a loss of control. The plane's rear pressure bulkhead had failed, rupturing a critical part of the fuselage. The decompression that followed caused the aircraft vertical stabilizer, the plane's primary means of directional control, to be torn away. More than just a structural problem, this was a fatal blow to the aircraft control systems. With the loss of hydraulic power, the plane flight controls were compromised. The pilots were now flying a disabled aircraft, and every attempt to regain control seemed futile. Despite the crew's experience and skill, the situation was dire. The cockpit became filled with alarms and chaos as the pilots attempted to maintain control of the increasingly unstable aircraft. Air traffic control, hearing the distress in the pilot voices, immediately began coordinating an emergency landing. However, with no working flight controls, they were powerless to stabilize the aircraft. With no other options, the crew attempted an emergency landing, but with hydraulic systems disabled, the pilots struggled to steer the plane. The aircraft began banking uncontrollably, the massive Boeing 747 turning sharply in unpredictable directions. The situation was worsening by the minute. At 6:56 p.m., after 32 harrowing minutes of desperate attempts to regain control, Flight 123 crashed into the steep slopes of Mount Takamagahara, about 40 kilometers from Osaka. The impact was catastrophic. The wreckage was scattered across the mountainside, with fire quickly consuming parts of the plane. Out of the 524 people on board, only 4 survived. It was the deadliest single aircraft accident in aviation history at the time. 520 lives were lost, leaving behind a deep scar in the hearts of families and the world of aviation. Among the few who survived, the memories of that night would haunt them forever. One survivor, a young woman named Keiko, was seated near the rear of the plane. She later recalled the terrifying moments after the jolt, hearing the screams of passengers as the plane plunged toward the mountainside. When we hit the mountain, everything seemed to explode around me. It's strange, but there was a moment when I thought, I can't believe I'm still alive. The sound of the crash, The heat, the smoke, it was all so overwhelming. For the victims' families, the pain of loss was compounded by the horrific nature of the disaster. Many families never got the chance to say goodbye, their loved ones suddenly taken from them, without warning. Every year, on August 12th, we remember. It does not get easier. The grief doesn't fade. We lost everything that night. Following the disaster, an extensive investigation was launched. The Japanese Civil Aviation Bureau, along with experts from the National Transportation Safety Board, examined the wreckage meticulously. Through painstaking work, the investigators discovered that the cause of the crash was linked to a poorly repaired aft pressure bulkhead. In 1978, Japan Airlines had experienced an earlier incident with a similar issue, a tail strike during routine maintenance. The subsequent repair was not done properly, weakening the bulkhead and making it prone to failure under stress. The failure of the bulkhead caused a catastrophic decompression that ultimately led to the loss of the tail section. Once this happened, the hydraulic systems were severed, leaving the pilots with little to no control over the plane. Following the investigation, Japan Airlines was held responsible for the inadequate maintenance procedures. The findings sent shockwaves through the aviation industry, as it became clear that simple maintenance oversights could result in catastrophic failure. The disaster prompted a sweeping overhaul in aviation safety standards. Improved maintenance protocols, especially regarding pressure bulkheads, were implemented globally. Airlines and manufacturers reviewed and strengthened their inspection processes. The aviation industry began investing more heavily in safety training and technology to avoid similar mistakes. Though the memories of that day remain etched in the hearts of many, the legacy of Flight 123 is not only one of tragedy, but also one of resilience and progress. It led to significant changes in aviation safety that have saved countless lives since. Japan Airlines Flight 123 serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of life, the importance of attention to detail, and the relentless pursuit of safety in aviation. Though the souls lost that day can never be replaced, their memory lives on in the advancements made to ensure that such a tragedy will never happen again.